Well, you guys, we're going to talk about acting today. We're going to talk about Matt, who's been with us for a while. Talk to Matt.
Mm,
Matt Pisani. Piscini?
Cassini.
Piscini. I've been calling you Pisani for a while around my house. So we talk about you a lot. So, because, you're such a light. Yes, Matt Piscini. And Matt's an actor in New York City, right? Uh-huh. And so you're in a great place for what you do. He also teaches acting. He also teaches exercise. And how long ago was it that you started the program?
I joined, I think like February 2018, something like that. I know it
Okay.
was in a winter month.
It was a winter month.
Mm,
Yeah. Okay. How do you remember that? Just like it was snow on the ground, and you're like, oh, it's too
I
cold
remember
outside. I've got to
because
study something.
I I was doing laundry literally the day I joined and it started snowing so bad and I didn't have an umbrella or anything. So I was hauling my laundry bag from the laundromat in the snow.
Oh my goodness. Ah, see, I knew there'd be a story.
Mm.
And you're like, pretty soon I'm gonna be having somebody come to my house and pick up my laundry. All right, so you started 3 years ago, and what made you decide to get involved in the program back then?
um I so I've been acting on and off on set since I was about 14.
Hmm.
And I had gone through a period where I took a break just to like sort out my head and get my life together because I wasn't really sure like what I wanted to do with anything.
Yeah.
And I decided I really just want to put all of my like energy into acting, but I had no
Yeah.
idea how to like properly network or get on set. Like I didn't know how to like get back in the game. So I was Googling a bunch of stuff and I
Yeah.
stumbled on Friends in Film.
Oh, yeah.
And then I did the Career on Fire training, the two
Mm-hmm.
week thing
Yeah.
for, I did it twice because I didn't have the money to join yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Cool.
and then as soon as, by the time I did it the second time, I had the money. I was like, that's it. Taking the leap, joining, doing it right now,
Mm.
and never look back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've been pretty involved with us this entire time,
Mhm.
giving us updates. And that's what I love so much, you guys, is when you guys implement this stuff, you do get on sets and you're meeting people and you're like, oh my God, I never knew that, I could work on all these sets and people would love me and there's a place for me. And your lives really change and your identity changes, which is what I love. So
Yes.
did that happen for you?
Definitely. Oh my God. Like when I first joined Friends in Film, I was a very like insecure in my shell person. Like I was always scared to reach out to people because I felt like I would annoy them, especially like casting directors and agents and stuff.
Yeah.
And I, especially if I went to like a film mixer or like just anything where I would go to meet people like film festivals, I would have trouble just talking to people.
Yeah.
And through the modules, especially like the Get It Factor training, I really learned to cultivate this mindset of like walk with confidence and just like be positive and really just be present in the moment instead of like basically instead of going
Mm-hmm.
into a situation where you want something, kind of like shift that around and just be present in the moment and also like just enjoy the company of the person so then they remember you.
Yeah, it's just such simple shifts. The other one comes from fear. I'm always
Mm-hmm.
talking about this book right now. It's not all about me. And what all this does really is it gets you out of your head about, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to respond to this person to make them like me, to make them remember me? It gets you out of your head about that, and then it makes you focus on, oh my gosh, what's exciting about this event, about other people. And that little shift is all that it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how that would be huge with your acting. And then when you got on all of these sets and you're able to see, oh my gosh, now, this is the casting process. These are producers, these are directors, these are such nice people. I understand. Here are the actors that are here, and I see their path. And were you able to kind of relax about it and just feel like, okay, this is what the business is. Let me just do this.
Definitely. Once I really like learned about everything properly
Yeah.
and was able to see how the process works. And like, especially just the fact that like the more that I went on set, the more experience I had under my belt. So
Yeah.
that helped with the confidence as well.
Yeah.
It was so much easier to just be like, I know what I'm doing. Like, there's no reason to be nervous.
I know it's so funny because like just knowing you that I've known you so far, you have this incredible little giggly, light, laughter, beautiful thing that just I mean people fall in love with you because of that,
Thank
right?
you.
Yeah, you're just so damn. Yeah, I don't know. It's something that the magical about you. That can't come out if you have fear, you guys, right? So he
Yep.
had, yeah, it won't come out. It's just gonna be like, ugh. You're gonna be like 10% of who you are, and what gets you the roles and what gets you the great life and what gets you all the friends and what everybody love about you is that you're so like kind of free and giggly and fun and goofy and sweet, all right. So yes, I'm really so that is really why I started A-List and started Friends of Film was I just want us to because I know myself I was so scared. It's almost ridiculous levels of fear. I would just have ridiculous levels of fear because the business is freelance and and you get this idea in your head, you're like, I've got to get these people to remember me so that I work again. It's like you don't have this Monday through Friday thing where it's like, okay, I can kind of relax because they're going to call. I mean, they're not going to call me. That's where I got to show up every. That's my agreement. I'm going to show up every Monday through Friday, doing this job. And this one is like, oh, I got to convince all these people and have them think about me instead of other people. Holy shit, holy shit. And something in the head happens with that makes us just be kind of scared. It makes fear come up. So then we're not our true selves, and we're just kind of they're like seeing like this very like we put up this like professional front. Yeah, you got to be professional. You got to say things in a way because really be. But if you're trying to be professional, then it doesn't really work. If you're trying to make people look good, if you're trying to make things go smoothly, well, then you're professional. Have you found that to be true?
Yes. I try to think about it in the way that my acting teacher also told me, which is bring yourself to the role. So like, yes, be professional on set, like if you're being a production assistant, but also bring your personality. Like no one's gonna wanna talk to someone who has like just a blatant personality or even like a complete like yes man, because people know when you're trying to get something, like they can feel it off you and it makes
Yeah.
people uncomfortable. So you just kind of have to be yourself, just bring yourself, bring your
Yeah.
best parts of your personality and just
Yeah.
vibe with people.
Vibe with people. Yeah. I always say to get us out of this thing of like, we do want something. I mean, the fact is, we do want something. We do want jobs. We do want them to remember us.
Mhm.
So to get ourselves out of that is what you just said. Vibe with people and let the chips fall where they may. Just
Yes.
just keep that in mind. Let the chips fall where they may. I'm doing things right 90% of the time. I cannot control the outcome. It's like herding cats. There's a million details on set, so you don't need to try to, and you can't control the outcome. You can't. Somebody said to me once, "You can't make people like you." I was like, but I should be able. No, you can't make people like you. They're either gonna, resonate with you or not. So why do you need to have everybody in the world like you? I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess I can just. They want to see your light. They want to see who you are. And then realize, you guys, that everybody's in pain. Everybody's insecure. Everybody's got self doubt.
Yep.
Everybody, the producer, the director, the executive producer, all the other actors we're all just very soft little creatures inside, aren't we? Yes. So when we feel alone, then we feel like it's only me, it's only me. All you're doing is focusing about ourselves then we lose access to the ability to actually shift this. It's just a shift. It's just a little pattern in our brains. Now you got over this shift. You got over this shift by being on set, by deciding, making some decisions about the way that you're going to see yourself. Anything else you want to share with us? Because this is a huge topic that can help so many people, this conversation.
There's been a lot of like negative thoughts that I had, especially before the program, where it was
Yeah.
like, I'm not good enough for this. Like, I'm not basically had like imposter syndrome, which is like I'm not worthy enough to be here. Even when I was called to like work on Broad City, for example, as a co-star, I would be on set like in my brain like I'm not good enough. Why was I cast? And that was just from insecurity and anxiety. And now I rarely have those thoughts, and if I do, I can
Yeah.
battle them with like the knowledge that I have, which is like I am good enough. Like,
Yeah.
look at my resume,
Yeah.
look how I have an agent, like look at all this concrete things that I'm doing just fine, especially for my age, because I'm 22. Like,
You're so young. You are so young. Aw. That's right. That's right. So what he does, and this is what we all need to do. This is why I teach this: empowering questions. You know, uh, do I have a good resume? Yes, I do. Have I done a lot so far in my life? Yes. Have I gone over fear in the past? Yes, I have. Am I only 22 and I have so much to look forward? Yes. Do I want to have a great life? Yes. Do I want to enjoy myself today on set? Yes. Am I in control of my mind? Yes, I am. So all these things will continue to move you forward. That's all empowering questions are. So ask yourself a question and then answer it. And make every single question be moving you forward, you guys. And then you will be going in the right direction. And these thoughts, they're just thoughts. Don't
yeah,
believe them. Don't believe them. You can think of them. Don't make yourself wrong for thinking of them. But but don't necessarily believe all your thoughts. Think of your mind like it's got a lot of weeds in it. It's got a lot of weeds. Those weeds are kind of going to be there, but you know, the weeds are going to be like this. They're like this sometimes, right? You guys know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
But they're as you have experiences, as you're in this program, as we listen to people like Matt and Anton and Christian, and we're like, oh my gosh, these people are all just so much like me. What happens is the weeds, they don't necessarily go away, but they kind of shrink. They kind of shrivel up. That's what happens. So when you continue, and feel free to focus to talk about this too, when you continue to focus on the weeds, then they get stronger. But when you continue to focus on where you want to go and ask yourself empowering questions, they kind of shrivel because all it is wiring in our brain. Because
Mm-hmm.
98% of the thoughts we had yesterday, we had the day before and the day before. So we're all just like kind of wired this way. We do this to keep ourselves safe, so that we know who we are, and that's why we're thinking the same things again. But sometimes it doesn't serve us anymore, and it's time to grow. So I'm so happy that you can talk about this with us because it's a very important subject. Okay, so these are some good questions here, if I do say so myself. I'm a great interviewer, if you guys noticed this. I'm a great interviewer. Sometimes I am pretty good, but sometimes I'm like, Janet, you're not the best interviewer. But then I say, let the chips fall where they may, you know? Right? The most important thing is how you guys feel. So I have to focus on that, right? The same thing for you. So see, we're all so much the same. Oh my goodness. So what are some of the learnings that benefited you in your career from the program? If you could think of some of the learnings, some of the things that most impacted you, that benefited you the most, because you've made some major progress in your career.
Yes.
Yes.
The biggest takeaway was really hammering that like get it factor mindset into myself, because truly without that, like I wouldn't have had the confidence and ability to network myself as much as I am with like casting directors. The magic list especially super beneficial, especially once you're like, if you're doing like the thing that I did, which is go from like the shift from crew into acting, because there's so many casting directors that have very specific ways you want them to contact them, because some only mail only, some want completely online, some want an Instagram DM.
Yeah, yeah.
So having that magic list is such an easy way to organize everything and figure out like during your monthly check-ins, oh, this person wants a DM, this person wants that. It's so fantastic. um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, it's quick, so that you have it at your fingertips, and it's not going to change most likely. They're going to say this is how I like it, and that's how they want it.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so magic list. So you knew all the major people and you would add to your magic list. And as you worked with people, you'd probably get new names and add that to your magic list. You've been on a lot of sets. And what would you say is the difference between Friends in Film and film school from your observations, people that you're working with in film school and people that you're working with that have done Friends in Film? The difference between the two.
Well, most of like the production assistants that I've met, even like key PAs, even like some ACs have never been to film school. They learned most of their things by doing and learning with experience, which was super like helpful when I first went on set because I was so like scared that I didn't know anything just to find out that most people learn everything by doing.
Yeah, yeah.
um so that was definitely something that I heard a lot. Like there were some people who did go to film school and do the I forget what the program's called, but there's like a 2-year production assistant training here in New York City. Um, and people have gone through that, which seems helpful because it provides a lot of like networking opportunities, but like I don't see it as like beneficial. Like I'm not beneficial, like mandatory to do. Um, if you want to be a production assistant. And
Well, 2 years is, my opinion on that, 2 years is kind of a long time to commit to being a production
yeah,
assistant. You have to commit to it. So,
exactly.
yeah, I would rather just be like, okay, I'll do it, for how long, and then I'm going to move up into these crafts. Yeah, I wouldn't want to commit to it because you can make your own connections anyway. You're going to make them anyway. If a
Yeah,
program's doing it for you, then yeah, they'll give you a little bit of a head start, but you really should learn how to really create this whole networking thing anyway, I think.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, did you have anything more about a difference between Friends and Film program and the way that we teach by getting inside and getting on set versus film school?
The one of the production assistants I talked to about like I think like mid 2019 went to film school and also did the production assistant program for two years. And they were explaining how they were having trouble getting jobs because they didn't really know how to outreach to people or like just send those like want to work emails or like even just stay fresh in people's mind with like those like 6 week updates or monthly updates. um and that's something that really clicked in my mind because like all that stuff is in the module and I had that knowledge with less experience than this person who had done so much for their career. So it was really just it was kind of mind blowing in a sense that disconnect because it was like on one hand like I'm filled with all this knowledge and I hadn't really been on set that much as a production assistant with this person who had done a lot and was having like difficulties with communication.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's like that's the most important part is how to get the work. So that's
Mm-hmm.
really what we're focused on. Other than being good, we're really focused on how to get the work. So that we're developed, and that is all happening through relationships. So people will spend so much money on school and on and like this person 2 years in a program where they had to commit to being a production assistant,
Mm-hmm.
just to make sure that they're going to be successful. People want to make sure they're going to be successful. So if you want to make sure you're going to be successful, you don't need to do that. You just need to focus on like what we're talking about, like getting on these
Yeah.
sets, being super helpful, helping out in all these departments, forming relationships with people that can be your mentors, working on outside projects. I'm not sure if you heard me talk too much about this, but working on outside projects where you're acting in them, as an actor. And then you talk about this when you're on set. And this makes people get like, oh my gosh, oh yeah, he's also an actor. It keeps them
Mm-hmm.
fresh in the mind that you're an actor so that they want to help you and refer you and things like that. You were saying that a lot of acting opportunities has come from being on set and working with directors and producers directly. Can you talk a little bit
Yes.
about that? Yeah.
So people tell me all the time, and I'm starting to finally believe it myself, that I have a very rememberable personality.
Yeah.
And like when I've on set, especially if I knew someone, like I have a perfect example. So I was being a production assistant on set for a feature that I also happened to knew the head stunt coordinator of. And so she knew the director. And so through that, me talking to her at lunch and like just talking about how like I wanted to further my career and just like telling her all my goals and just talking about like acting.
Yeah.
She was like, "Hold on a second, I'm a introduce you to this director." So she yanks me by the hand
Awesome.
and just kind of brings me to the director while he's eating,
Yeah.
and is like, "Hey, I just want to introduce you to my friend. He is a very good actor," and just like gassing up
Yeah.
my acting ability. And I had a conversation with him about like when I started acting, who I trained under, all that, and then I
Perfect.
think it was like 3 or 4 weeks later, he contacted my agent for an audition,
Awesome.
for a indie feature that he was working on. So opportunities can arrive that way just by existing and being friends with people because they will keep you in their mind and just
Yeah.
talk about you.
That's awesome. So did you give him your card, or did you give him like your your virtual card on your phone, or how did he have your information at his
Yeah,
fingertips?
I gave him my email because at the time I was waiting for my new business cards to be mailed in.
Mm.
And then I also gave him my agent's contact information, which I did have a business card.
Oh,
And yeah.
wow, that's great. So, you're talking to a department head, a stunt coordinator, and these people, they're so nice. They've gotten to be where they're at in their career because they're so nice. They're always trying to find solutions. They're being helpful. I mean, you don't get to any department head position unless you're always thinking about, oh, how can I make things better and how can I help? So that's awesome. So you talked to her, and she was not even, she doesn't really have that much to do with acting, really. But of course, everybody knows everybody. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. So are you always talking to people on set? Just talking to everybody on set all the time?
Yeah, I mean, I love meeting new people generally, so I'm trying always to just like make new connections and like have friends, even if it's like not work related. Like, it's great to go to like a restaurant with people or just hang out and talk about our careers and stuff.
Yeah.
But I always just try to be like very, very upbeat because sometimes, especially if you're working like a 14-hour set day in the heat, people can get down, and I really want to like bring that energy up because if the energy's not up, then I'm down. So I try to just
Yeah.
bring my personality, and I'm like, "Hey, everybody, we got this. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna get through this day. It'll be great."
Yeah. That's so great. Yeah, because that's what people love. That's what they want on set. That's what they love. That energy. You're so smart to be able to bring that. And so, like, have you been on like some TV shows, some feature films? What kind of stuff have you been on? What kind of stuff have you been working on? Like, as a
Well,
production assistant or whatever? Yeah.
I was a production assistant. The most recent show that I was a PA for was an episode of Blue Bloods.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I've done like smaller commercials. Like I did a Verizon commercial spot, like I think the beginning of 2019. And
Mm-hmm.
then the rest has been like indie feature films mostly,
Oh, that's
except for
great.
one I did a trailer for a TV show that they were trying to pitch to, I think it was Comedy Central.
Mm.
And that was really fun because the director was like very like quirky and it was great because our energies were like mixing. And for acting, I've done like mostly like indie feature films. I've done two trans related documentary style films. And
Cool.
I've acted in my favorite credit still, which is Broad City, because I became really close with the actress Perry Gilpin, who has been like hyping me up on social media all the time for my career, and I love her so much.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, relationships again. Wow, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the indie feature films is a really smart thing to do if you're an actor, to work on that as a production assistant, because they can sometimes put you in, they can write you in. There's many
Mm-hmm.
opportunities there. Have you found that to be the case?
Yeah, I actually. So when I was still like volunteering at film festivals, actually, I think it was the second film festival I ever volunteered at. I was talking to a director of this um, film that was, well, it was also a documentary style thing about just like women empowerment. Um, and she was talking about how her production assistant actually ended up becoming a lead in one of her next films that she's writing because she fits so well into the character. And that's where it really clicked in my mind that I was like, oh, I see how this can work out.
Yeah.
So that's what I tried to do, which is just like make my presence known on especially indie feature sets, and became friends with these directors because on indies it's much easier to befriend directors because it's such a smaller crew.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So, did you choose indie feature films to work on purpose because of this reason that you could be cast, and these are the kind of things that you knew that were kind of the right uh, projects for you to be focusing on for acting? Because it's theatrical. That's
Yeah.
good.
I definitely tried to align myself and get on production assistant jobs with a lot of LGBT centered films because, like, I'm transgender. So that's very important to me to add to that representation when I do act. And so there was a lot of me just like researching like either LGBT film festivals or like all these directors that I see with films coming out or
Yeah.
like films in production. And I either DM them on Instagram or like found their email and was like, here's my resume, sent out like my want to work email and got responses like about 75% of the time, which
Holy
is
shit, that's incredible. Are you kidding me? That is so great. So, you guys, this is the same kind of thing. This is a niche. You create a niche that you're passionate about, that you're like, I could get behind this. I want to talk about this. I want to be involved in this. And these other people are also really into it too.
mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that's so smart. That's so good. So, can you tell us a little bit more about that? You said you were reaching out and DM. So, how would you do this research? This is fascinating. This is really good.
I would go. I would look up like film festivals centered around what I wanted, which was like LGBT stuff.
Yeah.
And then I would look at the list of directors who either were like in past film festivals or like the ones that were upcoming if they posted like, oh, these are the films that are being listed. And then I would Google them, find their social media or like find their IMDb or whatever, see if they have anything in production that they're posting about, and then reach out from there. And then, of course, because I've done research, I know the projects that they're done. So I would incorporate that in the email, be like, hey, I saw this. I watched it online. Like, I really love this film. And yeah.
Oh yeah. Now, would you send a Facebook message or an Instagram message, or how would you?
I don't think I've ever contacted someone over Facebook.
Oh,
Instagram definitely a lot of times because I found that so many people are more active on Instagram lately. Um, and yeah, I would just send like a short DM, not too long because it's an Instagram DM with essentially the same thing. Like, I saw this, I love it. I'm a production assistant. I'm also an actor. Uh, I would love to be involved on your set somehow. And then I would give my email or like my own Instagram handle and
yeah.
just see where it went from there.
Yeah. Would you say I'm transgender, I'm trans, or what would you?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
super open about that. Even on my like social media, it says
Yeah.
like hashtag transgender actor.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. That's great. Okay, cool. And then 75% of the time they would respond back and they'd say like, oh, okay, great. I'll get you on my list. And that's
Yeah,
what happened. Would you make a magic list then of those people? Because those are all great connections that you want to follow back up with.
definitely. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
have like a little subsection of like it like a different page sort of on my magic list where it's just LGBT centered directors or even like LGBT friendly directors who I really want to keep in my inner circle of like people.
Yeah, yeah. Are there some pretty famous ones, directors out there or producers out there that you've been able to find that are really starting to be significant, that you've that are on your radar?
There is one person I met fairly recently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she is a lesbian film director, and she's constantly in contact with like everyone, in especially in LA,
Mm.
with like lesbian actors, like specifically, well, not just lesbian actors, lesbian and non-binary actors. Um, and she specifically uses her film to empower and like try to tell the stories that are less represented in media.
Yeah.
And I was talking to her because I first met her at Big Apple Film Festival
Oh,
in New York City.
okay.
Um, and she and I got to talk because she was the type of director who did not want to see her work on screen because like it just she gets so hypercritical of herself. So because I was stationed outside the door, like handing people and checking their tickets or whatever, we were talking for like the entirety of her film. Um, and I found out that she was based in LA. So she was like, send me an email, send me your resume. I want to keep you in like my files for when you like when I'm either back in New York or when you're in LA or whatever. And I'm constantly in contact with her on Instagram now because I followed her. And yeah.
That's really good. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, it's kind of like when I was starting out wildlife filmmaking, I knew the top people. You know, I researched the top people, and so I would reach out to them. I made sure, and I was very low key about it. You know, just basically exactly what you did. You did it perfectly. When you started A-List, what was your first paid shoot, and how long did it take to get it?
My first paid shoot was about I think 3 or 4 months after I initially joined the program.
Okay.
And it was for an indie short film. And it was like, I think it was about 75 per day. Like it wasn't a massive amount, but it was like first paid shoot.
Yeah.
And it was a film actually about a transgender boy who was basically like unaccepted by family, and then like by the end like it was really like super empowering. And it was being entered into the IndieWorks Film Festival here. And that's how I found out about IndieWorks as well, which has gotten me so many connections. And I remember being like super 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 excited but also like really scared to mess up because it was like, oh, I'm actually making money. um
Yeah. They're
but then
paying me
like once
now. They're paying me now. I got to do even better. Yeah.
yeah, once I found out that like there's such a different energy even for like low paying films. There's such a different energy versus like a student film versus a paid film. And like everyone treated me differently in the sense that like I was more important, I guess is the best way to say it. Because like people treated me because I was still in that mindset where it was like, oh, I'm what if I'm not good enough? But people were like treating me as if I was very much like knew what I was doing, even if I didn't really know what I was doing sometimes, which I asked questions for. And it was just such a better energy that it made me more confident because other people believed in me more. I believed in myself more.
Such a funny thing. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was the same for me. I just yeah, yeah, when you're working on certain things and people are different, they're grateful that you're there, you know?
Yeah.
And you're really, I mean, it is a very important position. You're really helping out the set. And they know at $75 a day that they're paying a little bit less than what it should be. So they're so grateful that they got such a great person there working for them. How many days was this shoot? Was it one day or a couple days or?
It was 3 days total.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So that was your first paid shoot. And so what were the events that led up to that? Did that come from a want to work email, from the get on shoots method, or how did that happen?
It came from a film mixer.
Oh,
Because
okay.
there was a Facebook event that I stumbled upon that was like New York City film production mixer and meet and greet. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm free that day. I'm going. um,
Yeah.
so I got in there and it was super, super crowded. It was like in center midtown, like in a bar, but in like the basement area where they hold events. And it was super crowded. And I was just walking from person to person because they had us like name tags to write our name and what we are in the film world.
Yeah, yeah.
So I put actor slash
Very
PA.
smart. Very good.
And so every single time I would meet someone, I'd be like, hi, I'm Matt. I'm an actor. I'm also a PA. I really want to get more on like film sets and just talk about that. And I made sure to talk to every single person in that room. By the time I was out of there, my voice was like hoarse.
Wow, what a commitment. That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Now, when you first got in there, were you a little bit intimidated and then you decided, "Hey, I'm going to talk to every single person here. That would be fun." I mean, what did you tell yourself?
I was hyping myself up on the subway there. I was like, I'm gonna do this. Like I was listening to like Imagine Dragons, like
Oh,
really upbeat music, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And then when I got there, I was so scared because it was so crowded. Um, and then I actually saw one of my friends there as well, who I think, yeah, they mostly do like set design work, and I was so happy to see him. And that helped with my confidence a little because I was like, okay, someone I know here. Yeah,
yay.
like now I can relax a bit, and I used that momentum to like talk to strangers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You just got it going, and then you're like, okay, well, let's see what we're. This is the mixer. I'm supposed to talk to people. Let me talk to the
Mm-hmm.
next person. Let me talk to the next person. And actor slash PA. Do you think that that opened up a lot of conversation? The fact that you also work as a production assistant. In fact, it did lead to this job, didn't it? If you just had actor on there, then you might not have been working on this feature film. That was your first paid job. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of questions because as soon as you meet people, their eyes immediately go to your name tag because
Yeah.
they're like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And so I got so many questions like, oh, why are you working crew and acting? And so I
Mm-hmm.
told them I have such a love for the film world
Yeah.
and I want to be on both sides. Like, I want to
Yeah.
work crew, I want to be on camera.
Oh,
And
perfect.
that always, like, that question was always the easiest thing because I could just slip into talking about my career. And I didn't have to like initiate the conversation myself.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, it's like a curiosity point because they're looking at, oh, what can they ask you? Because they don't. It gives them something, and then when they say, well, so why do you do both? Now they're not like judging you; they're just curious,
Mm-hmm.
and how you answer that question is very important because you want to tell them because I want to. I want to learn this. I want to learn that. I want to learn everything there is to learn about the film industry because I love it. And then they're going to be thinking, most of them probably are thinking, wow, that's really smart. I should do that too. I bet that opens a lot of doors that way. Yeah.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
People love initiative. Like people are if you're like a go-getter person, like this is what I want, I know what I want, people are like they eat that up.
Oh, yeah. So true, you guys. Yeah. So never be afraid that you're acting and you're also a production assistant, or you're acting and you're also doing camera. Remember, your energy is always the most important thing. Like he says, people eat that up because they want to feel confident and secure. So they
Mm-hmm.
love when they meet somebody that's confident and secure. It's like, oh, okay. Kind of like when I was getting in the film industry, I'm like, yeah, I want to work for National Geographic, and all those people were like, huh, what? And I'm like, I was so certain about it. I'm like, no, I'm doing this. And then they were like, I'm like, I want to learn it. I want to travel. I want to have this life. And they're like, okay, okay. They better not say anything because I'm going to do it. Same thing for you. It's like they can't say anything when you're certain about it.